No, just so you know.
Hello everybody, look at this full room. Thank you for coming tonight. Welcome to Big River Theater. Just because I'm curious, is anybody here for the first time? Remember, don't be shy. Oh, look at all that. Yeah, shame on you. Get your butts over here. My name is Katie. I'm just kidding. I'm happy that you're here. It's super cool to host these nights because the room is always full, and it's great to see that people care about the history of this area and the future of this area. So yeah, thank you for coming and investing in that by being here. My name is Katie. Josh is back there behind the soundboard. He is my husband and the father of this child, and I'm out of breath all the time, and I'm due on Saturday. I don't know if we're ready. There's actually some amazing technology these days. The baby, they put the ultrasound up, and you can hear the baby saying, "Ready or not, here I come." So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. Dumb. We have a couple schedules here. We have music, we have movies, and we try to do our best to offer everybody the best things that they could be watching and listening to, so please come out. We have a newsletter sign up if you'd like to know about what's coming up in the future. We have drum circles. If there's anybody else that wants to do an event here, we're open to that. Just give us a nod, a text, a call, an email. We'd be happy to hear from you. And a couple housekeeping things. There's one bathroom for the women, there's one bathroom for the men, so let's all be civil about it. And there's extra toilet paper, so everybody's gonna be all right. And what else? Oh, there's a ramp. Please don't fall off of the ramp. You can either step down on the side or come down the middle, and we'd be happy about that. Let's see, anything else that we need to know? I don't think so. So I'm gonna ask Mercedes to please come up. Oh, one thing. Big thanks to Bill Hedberg. He's going to be helping us out for the next couple movies, and Mary, you know, when this all happens. So thank you, Bill. Big round of applause for Bill, because he does so much to get us all together. All right, Mercedes, take this mic away from me.
I don't want to. You're entertaining us too much. Okay, good evening, everybody. It is so good to see so many people that came out here tonight. I did not know so many of y'all loved history, or you love Nora, or both. So it's really great to see you all here. Thank you for coming out. And I want to give a special thanks to Bill, who Katie already mentioned, but he is in charge of the Buffalo County Historical Society and really organized and made sure that this event happened. So we are very, very grateful to them and cannot thank them enough for everything they do to really preserve history in our county. And then also to Katie and Josh. The theater is gorgeous and they do so much to bring community together, so we're really grateful to them and everything that they do. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Mercedes Falk and I am the director of Puentes. We're a really small nonprofit that was founded right here in Alma over 20 years ago. I think some of you probably know the extension agent in our county for many, many years, Carl Dooley. Show of hands for people that knew him. Yeah. So he is the reason that our organization exists. For those of you that knew him, he was just absolutely a champion of relationships. And so in the late 90s, when he saw that a lot of dairy farmers were having a success with hiring folks from other countries and able to fill that labor gap, he also noticed that there was a communication gap that needed to be fixed. So he contacted Sean Duvall, who was teaching Spanish here at the high school in town, and just asked if she would be interested in working with farmers to teach them a little bit of Spanish and having their employees learn a little bit of English. And she was really excited about the opportunity, but she knew that they needed to learn more than just the language. Like, as soon as she started working with them, she saw that there were some cultural differences that maybe she could help with a little bit. So she founded Puentes after she took farmers to Mexico with John Rosenau, who's over here, in 2001. And ever since has really been a champion of building relationships and kind of helping us increase our cultural understanding. So the reason I wanted to give you a little bit about this backstory on us is because we wanted to do an event like this because we love learning about people and their backgrounds and our rich history. It's just really fun to think about the ways in which all the difficult decisions of the generations before us and our families have created the life that we are able to live today. So last year, Nora and I were kind of talking at one of our board meetings, and she told me that she did a research paper in college. Thank you. And we thought, oh my God, that would be so cool if you could we could work together with the Historical Society and kind of do like a little bit of evolution of your family farm. And so that's why we are here tonight, to do this little farm history piece. This love that we have in learning about others and their personal histories, it really makes us think about what has brought each of us to this moment in time, and how, if we look at like every person around us, everyone here in this theater, there's like a powerful story that we each have in our hearts. You know, a hardship that we've overcome, a big accomplishment that we've made, something monumental that we've been able to do with our families or our loved ones, and maybe even a risk that we took to create a better life for ourselves, or a risk that our parents, grandparents, great-great-grandparents took with us in mind. So whatever has happened to us, there is just this mountain of dreams. Dreams that have been realized and dreams that have taken like some unexpected routes. So as you listen tonight, I invite you to contemplate how all of us got here and how the decisions of those that came before us got us here, and really kind of to think about what has been each of our life's journeys that made us settle right here in this beautiful part of western Wisconsin that we all love. So tonight Nora has a story to share, and yes, it is about the story of her family's farm and how it has evolved through the generations. I hope that it also inspires you to think about your own journey and your family's story and the strong agricultural roots that we have here in our county. It is my honor to introduce to you Nora Lindstrom. Her great-great-grandparents came over from Norway and Sweden almost 150 years ago, if I have that correct. And she continues to keep their farming dreams alive with her brothers and the rest of her family and employees that have become like family over the years. They have done on their dairy farm, what they have done is a model of hard work and collaboration. So, without further ado, here is Nora Lindstrom and the evolution of a family farm.
All right, hi. Can you hear me? No. All right, thank you for coming. There's a lot of people here. I have not publicly spoke for over 20 years, so if I get really red, I'm just fine. So, the continuing history of the Lindstrom family farm. Don't be running. Oh yeah, I forgot. way back in 1846 when my great-great-grandpa, Anders Lindstrom, was born in Sweden. I cannot pronounce that, so that's where he was born, in Sweden. Alrighty. So, born on February 14th, 1846, at the age of 25, he made the long voyage over here to America. He was the first generation in his family to come to the country. He was born Anders Anderson, but when he came to the United States, he changed his name to Anders Lindstrom, which I think was common back then. And from the records I've seen, he changed his name because Anderson was a really common name that the people that came here, so he changed it to Lindstrom so that he just didn't blend in with everybody else. When he came to the United States, he made his way to Buffalo County, and he worked here near the beef slough as a brailing boss for years. And he was supposedly lived, I don't know if you know where the Silver Moon is, somewhere behind there is where he lived. In December 31st of 1880, he married Christina Larson, and she was from Norway. In 1882, they bought the first parcel of land that our family owned in Section 33 of the Maxville Township. He built a small log cabin there so that they could stay there and work. There was a lot of clearing of the land to be done to make it farmable. He cleared the land and made it into a 240-acre farm. And he built a very solid brick house a few years later in 1902, which is this house. Yeah. So that was his house he built on his farm. And just another picture of his house and buildings. One thing that always really stuck out in this picture is how they planted their corn up and down the hill. My dad always told me that his grandpa, or his dad, when they switched to contour cropping, they just thought he was crazy and he was never going to make it, because who planted their crops across it instead of up and down it? Alright, Andrew, and Christina had 7 children. John, my great-grandpa, Christian, Emo, Solomon, Carl, Anna, and Carrie. They all lived to adulthood, except for Carl, who was struck by lightning as a child, which I've always heard was in a barn down the road. Him and another little boy were struck. Let's see here. Yes, this is a photo of them. All right. They all, John and Christian and Solomon farmed their entire lives in the Lindstrom Valley, or what is now known as Lindstrom Valley. I thought it was interesting he never became an official citizen in the United States until, must have been 1 year before he died in 1908. So that is the picture, or a copy of his naturalization papers. Alright, John. He is the second generation, my great-grandpa. John Alfred Lindstrom, born September 8th, 1881. He married Frances Barbara Mathis at the Lister Lutheran Church on February 7th of 1906. They moved away for a couple years, and the story goes is that, I forget now, because of the audience. So he moved away. I think there was some hard feelings. He was the oldest son, and I think it was expected that he would be handed down the farm, and it never happened that way. So they moved away and came back, and they purchased another 320 acres, which was very close to where he grew up. And they lived there and worked on the farm and started their family. They had 10 children. All right, let's see here. Okay. So, yes. So John bought this farm, but his brother Christian and another brother had another farm. And you'll see in some slides later. They're very close, but they all had their own farms, their own cows, but they all shared their responsibilities. They worked together, shared tools, and they formed a partnership called Lindstrom Brothers. John, after buying this farm in 1910, built the first barn on that property. So this is a picture of them raising the barn in 1910, and there is a lot of people there. I think the entire Burnside population was there to help raise that barn. This was the cornerstone in the barn foundation that they, Lindstrom Brothers, 1910. This is John's family. He had 10 children. Here's another family photo from 1945. He had 10 children. They all lived to adulthood except Evelyn, who died as an infant from pneumonia. The girls moved away. The son stayed and helped run the farm. All right, back in college when I did my first research paper on our family history, you could get these microfilms from, I think they were from the Historical Society, and they had like all these census of, how many acres they had and how many acres of all the crops that they grew. And back then he grew a wide variety of crops: corn, potatoes, oats, barley, clover, a variety of animals: chickens, pigs, cows, horses, and mules. These were John's sons, Victor, Jack, and John. Let's see here. So in order: Johnny, Victor. Victor is my grandpa, he's the second one. And Jack, and then John, the father, their father. And I just have lots of photos that I've collected of how they did farm work back in the day. Yeah, all by hand and horses.
Do you know what year those pictures are from?
No. Before tractors. Yeah. That one's kind of hard to see, but that's a big stack of hay that they forked by hand. This is my grandpa, Vic, doing work with his horses. More horses. Pictures of him and Jack. So there was 3 boys in that family, and Johnny Lindstrom was the youngest, and he moved away and eventually started Lindstrom Equipment. So that is where their roots also started, where my roots started. But just pictures of, so this is my grandpa Vic and his brother Jack. Just farming, horses, logging. More farming pictures. I find the one of the pigs grazing with the cows very interesting. Yeah, and bull on a chain. More horses. Yeah. All right. Vic and Evelyn. Vic is my grandpa, and he married Evelyn Mae Johnson on March 24th of 1941. They also moved away for a year before they returned to Lindstrom Valley to farm with his father. Just pictures of his wedding day. He was handsome. All right, this is a house they built in 1942 where they raised their family, and he had 5 children. And these are his children. So on the bottom is my dad, the little guy on the bottom left. And my Uncle Steve, my Aunt Janet, Karen, and Gary. My grandpa and grandma. Alright. And this was the last building built on that farm in 1946. It's still standing today as a car garage. And this was on and they farmed here many years. And had a herd of Guernseys. Had pigs, chickens, and of course horses to work the land. In 1950 they got their first tractor. So that's when the first tractors appeared on our farm. This pictures of that looks a lot easier than working it. Alright, 1955, Jack and Victor purchased just the land where their grandpa purchased. At that time the house was surveyed off and Andrew's daughter had the house, but they had purchased the land. 1963, the first silo was added. In 1964, Jack and my grandpa purchased a second farm, which was adjoining the farm that they were farming on. And at this time, my grandpa and grandma moved into the brick house on the new farm. Because their oldest son, Gary, was returning home from the Navy, and he lived in his house that Vic had built. So this was the farm. It was the Slusher farm, but they had bought that in 1964, which is the location of our farm now, or our main farm. This was just a picture I found on the internet, like a vintage photo, and I thought it was kind of cool because it was our farm. There was lots of changes that occurred during, 1964 to 72. They purchased a second farm. Gary returned home to farm with them. And actually, Gary bought the farm they were farming on. Let's see here. So at this time, they both had their own herd of cows. Jack and Vic milked on the new farm, and Gary and his wife Diane, who is here, ran that farm. So this is Gary and Diane's wedding picture from 1966. And I thought they had an appraisal done at this time, and I thought it was just a fun fact that a bale of hay was 55 cents, which if it was now, I would have a lot more horses. A John Deere tractor was $2,600, and an Angus heifer was $180, and cows were $215, which I got off of an appraisal from 1965. And this was their farm. This was the picture that hung in their house in my childhood. I think it's a good example of, so my great-grandpa built the house to the right, and then my grandpa built the house to the left, which in my life, my aunt and uncle Gary and Diane lived in. So, yeah, way back in the valley. Alright, so when they purchased this new farm, remodeling needed to be done. It wasn't really suitable to be milked in, and the farm that they were farming and that Gary bought also needed to be remodeled. So in 1966 they remodeled both of the barns. It looks like they had to put they jacked them up, put new foundations under them. So, yeah. More remodeling photos. Some of the pictures were like double exposed, but I still thought they were worthy of looking at. 1971. This is when Steve joined the farm, my Uncle Steve. Oh, he loved to tractor pull. At this time, it became a corporation and not a partnership. And in an interview that I did with my uncle back in '99 when I did my research, it was because at the time, like someone of his age could not get a loan of that size to purchase a farm, so making it a corporation made it possible for him to become a partner. They built another barn on to the Slusher farm to milk more cows. And this was also when we became more of a monoculture farm. You know, we didn't no more pigs, none of the chickens, and we were just going to be dairy farmers. And this is when Breezy Point Farms kind of was formed. I mean, they had to name it when they formed a corporation, so Breezy Point Farms it was called. Let's see here. Yeah. So they are the 4th generation on our dairy farm. Yeah. My Uncle Gary, Steve, my dad, and cousins Chris and Chad. In 1978, my dad was the baby of the family by 11 years, so it took him a little while to get old enough to become a partner. And at this time, they retrofitted a double 8 herringbone parlor into one end of the stanchion barn. And they added another barn on the end to house more cows. So that is what it looked like. This is my mom and my dad, their wedding picture. They were married in 1978, and they had 4 children. My older brother Derek, myself, and my brother Andrew, and my sister Danny. So in 1987, they put up their first bunker. And another barn was built with a slatted pit underneath. Which they put feed bunks in, and they went to a portable TMR versus a stationary TMR. They were awarded the Outstanding Farmers Award from the Pepin County Conservation in 1987. So that's Vic and his sons Gary and my dad and my Uncle Steve. This was a news article that my Aunt Diane shared with me, and it was a very nice article written about the 3 brothers, and at the time they were milking 170 cows, and the article claims one of the top herds in the state. So, and also in 1987 they put in their first lagoon, a 3 million gallon lagoon. So I think from the beginning they were progressive farmers and forward thinkers. All right, 1995. So there's a gap where I don't have a lot of pictures. And I asked my dad, I said, why is there no pictures from the 70s and 80s? He's like, well, it's not like we're walking around with cameras and our wives weren't out there taking pictures and we didn't have cell phones on our side, so there's a gap of pictures that just don't exist because they were busy farming, I guess. In 1995, we added our first freestyle barn, and that allowed us to increase our herd size to 500 milking cows by 1999. During this time, this is when the introduction of immigration labor became a huge, it just was huge. We needed labor. And some of our employees have lived and worked here over 20 years, and have helped us get to where we are today and to become family. Working together with neighbors, I always find this very unique about us. I mean, in the 90s we started working together with a neighboring farm. You know, buying equipment is outrageously expensive, and to have the labor to do everything. So, I don't know, close to 30 years now we've been working with a neighbor farm, and we do all our chopping together. We each have our own equipment and we share, and it's been a great thing. Pretty much all of my farming life. So, just shows them chopping. We have the chopper, they have the trucks. So. In 1999, they quit using silos and we went to bunkers. That's what was happening then. And in the early 2000s, all the silos but one have since been knocked down, and the one that's still standing is half full of feed, so that's why it's still standing. All right, 2001, my Uncle Gary retired, remained living in his home that his dad built in 1942 until his passing in 2019. In retirement, he could be found often on the farm. He loved to farm, and he was there to just bullshit with Andrew or run for parts or do whatever. And then a few years later, Steve retired and moved to town where he lived until his passing in 2013. During his retirement, he helped his son, Chris, who has a manure pumping and a truck business in Maxville Truck and Repair. It's kind of a special photo to us, the three brothers. All right, so 2007 to current, the farm has been owned and operated by my dad and mom and three of his children. So my brother Andrew and my brother Derek and myself. And there's their family. And that photo was taken in Lindstrom Valley, where my great-great-grandfather purchased. So me and my brothers are the 5th generation to work on this farm or own this farm. My older brother, out of high school, farmed in 1997. After high school, I went to college for cow sows and plows and worked off for a while, and then I came back to farm in 2005, and my younger brother plumbed for a while, and then he came back in 2006. So, and during this time we also changed our business structure, which required a name change, and at the time it was just something we picked, Lindstrom Valley Farms, but as I did this presentation and thought about it, it's super fitting because it is all of Lindstrom Valley, and we have acquired all of, we're farming all the Lindstrom land, so. My brother Derek was married. He has 3 sons, Ethan, Landon, and Mason. And his wife had 2 sons, Will and Noah. Which this wedding picture has their great-grandpa's barn in the background, so it's kind of a cool picture. Me and my family. I have 2 kids. And my brother. He has 3 sons, and I think maybe more. I don't know if they're done. They like kids.
It mustn't be, they just left.
So I'm kind of skipping around here. I just wanted to show like the next generation, but a lot of changes happened. And maybe I just can present them because I lived it, but in 2009, with the availability of neighboring land, we were able to build another barn and expand from 500 to 700 cows. A freestyle barn was added, a heifer barn. And then at that time we expanded our parlor to a double 14 and added an automated calf feeder. So this is just same farm from '64 but growing. In 2015 we were able to add the second part to that barn and add another lagoon. You know, as the neighboring farmers aged and had no next generation to carry out their legacy, you know, that land became available for us to rent, which allowed us to have more cows to feed. So 2019 we sold off 300 acres of our woodland to buy a neighboring farm. It was the Dan and Jean Weisenbeck farm. For me, this was the most emotional move we ever made, letting go of this land that has been in our family forever, you know, the whole history, to purchase this farm. But for us, it was just a move we had to make. I mean, it allowed us to bring our young stock home and raise them, and at the same time we made a great investment in equipment and brought a lot of things in-house. We started doing our own manure, mowing our own hay, merging. It was like a big Hail Mary year for us. So this is the farm we purchased in 2019 and where we house all of our young stock. This is my brother Derek seeding alfalfa and Andrew supervising on our then newly purchased farm. In 2021, we were able to purchase Willie and Sandy Lindstrom's farm, which was the last farm in the Lindstrom Valley that we didn't own. We had been farming it for a number of years, but at that time we were able to purchase it. So this farm was one of Andrew Lindstrom's son's farm, and that stayed in their family for 3 generations, and now we own it. So it's part of the original Lindstrom brothers, but now still part of the Lindstrom family history. Growth. So this is just showing the map of all the land that we farm, either owned or rented. I think growth has happened for our family due to 2 reasons. The availability of more land as farmers retire and don't have anybody to carry it on, and then the availability of immigrant labor. So we've grown to 1,200 acres owned and 1,000 more acres rented. So saying goodbye is always hard. In September of 23, we made the decision to knock down Great Grandpa's barn. These walls could tell a story. All the things that have happened in this barn. Yeah, it was there for 113 years, and it was been refurbished into many things. It was a hunting cabin and a wood shop. It was always a conversation piece. So my great grandpa cut his fingers off and he pickled them. And they were in a jar. So everybody that came to the farm, and we'd go, at the time it was our hunting cabin, you know, you walk in the door and here, these are my great grandpa's fingers, he pickled them. Clearly had a sense of humor. Yeah. And I never knew this, but when I really looked at the naturalization papers of my great-great-grandpa, it says, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, and then a distinguishing thing. Well, he had lost an arm also, which I think he actually died from gangrene on his death certificate. And then his son cut off fingers, and my grandpa cut off fingers, And Uncle Gary, I think, ripped his hand on a silo, caught it on a ring. So I told my brothers, you just better watch out, because one of you are next. Because it's in our genetics, someone's going to lose a digit. And then they reminded me that I did cut my finger off, but with technology, they sewed it back on. So, yeah. So we tore this down. It was falling down. The foundation, was moving, and we had tried fixing it many times. But the cool thing is we saved as much lumber as we could. And we took the cornerstone out, and so I have a barn, a shed at my house, and we're finishing it off with the lumber from this barn. And then we're saving some for hopefully someday if we build a parlor, the office can, have that lumber, those beams or the boards, and we want to incorporate that cornerstone into it somehow. 3 generations working together. So my nephew Ethan has come back to farm with us as of this summer. So it's just a picture of us, my parents and me and Derek, my older brother, and his son Ethan. Well, with the next generation coming, it also brings more growth. In July of this last year, what happened now? Anyway, we had the opportunity to buy another herd of cows, which was from the farm that we had been kind of farming with alongside, helping each other for 30 years. They had nobody to take it over, so we purchased their herd of cows, and we're leasing their facilities with the goal of someday building a parlor and adding a barn and bringing them home. But we also added a commodity building and a grain facility this last year. Cheers to new adventures. Got a combine. And we combined our own grain this fall. So, yeah. Yes, Andrew is the fixer. So he's figuring out why we can't get it to work. Yeah. So this was like the last aerial photo taken of our farm. And what I really love about this photo is it shows like Lindstrom Valley, and like it shows where we're currently farming, and then where my great-grandpa farmed and my Uncle Gary lived to the left, and then the other Lindstrom farm to the right, and Andrew Lindstrom's original farm is up the valley. So it just really shows like Lindstrom Valley and the generations in the farms all coming together.
Is that County Road K there?
This is County Road K.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's Lindstrom Valley Road. So, yeah.
How many people do you have helping you run it?
Well, between like full-time employees, and we have seasonal people that come and drive truck and run some tractors, I think we're up to like 30 people. Yeah. Including family. So. Oh, this last summer my dad decided to retire. That's just officially retire, I should say. He's still there a lot, bugging us. Teamwork makes the dream work. This is everybody trying to fix the mixer, probably on a Saturday. Yeah. Just a picture of the barn. I think it's a cool picture, so I had to include it. All right, 143 years and counting. So I have some comparison shots. What it was in 1964 and what it looks like today. So on the left is my grandpa's first tractor in 1950, a John Deere Model A, which had 25 horsepower. And the latest tractor we have is a Fendt 4020 with 420 horsepower. So lots changed. Yeah. Picture on the left is not ours. I stole it off of the internet because I could not find one. But that is like how they chopped growing up and now how we chop, you know, the equipment. And how the trucks have changed. That truck is still sitting on the farm. The old one. Mason took that and insisted that I put it in here. So. Yeah, the farm equipment has come a long ways. I always think back, my grandma lived in her 90s and she was in the nursing home, and I remember, I think it was my Uncle Gary probably brought her out, and we were chopping up in Owen Valley, and she's sitting in the car watching us, and all I could think was, man, the changes she has seen. You know, growing up with horses and no cars to like how we are doing things now and the technology that we have is, for her, mind-blowing, I'm sure. So. What's next? The sixth generation. I had to add this. When Ethan has started, the sixth generation has started working with us as of this summer. And his brother thought it was really fun to put this sign on the yard to welcome him back on his first day. So, and an interesting thing is Ethan lives in what would be his great-great-great-grandpa's house, where I grew up. I grew up in Andrew Lindstrom's house, my great-great-grandpa, that built it in the 1900s. And when my dad retired, they moved a little ways down the valley, and now Ethan is there living in that home. Just Ethan working in the new grain system. Alright, I have a video, but it did not come on here, so I have to go somewhere else to get it. There we go.
God looked down her eyes and said, I need
I might need technical support here.
Quit the presentation and you should be able to see it.
Okay.
Just hit the escape button.
There we go. I should say, my nephew, Mason, is really good at making videos, and I asked him to put this together for you. It's just a drone footage of the farms and all of them, so.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painting from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk Somebody who would veil a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
I forgot to add, because I'm kind of a scatterbrain. So, I think every family has a historian, and we're lucky to have one in our family. My dad's cousin Lee, he has actually been back to Sweden and seen where Andrew Lindstrom was born, and has seen the foundation in the house and has pieces of that, so. It goes further back than when they came here. Someone in our family's been there, so it's kind of cool. That is my family history.
What would you say that you guys are the most proud of that you've been able to do together?
Keep it. Keep it and not kill each other? I don't know. No. I don't know, it's pretty emotional when you think back, and I still get emotional, thinking about who, I'm gonna cry, who's left us, missing my uncles and my grandpa, and just how far we've come and the technology we use, and yeah. I'd give anything to go back. In my younger years with my uncles, though, that's for dang sure. My grandpa. Yeah. Wish they took a lot more pictures, though. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, I hope it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Stories in our family history, and I don't know how many people are here from Buffalo and Pepin counties, but it's just really neat to think about. And Bill at the Historical Society is back there, so if any of you have things that you would like to share or ideas for future presentations, he's always looking for stuff. Thank you everybody for coming out. It's great to see a packed eater.